All right, everybody. Today we're going to be diving into important dates. Now, the goal with this one is for you to just have a better understanding of what they are and the power that they hold within SAM 2.0. Now, the really cool thing about important dates are these are the things that are going to trigger the automations inside the system. So, when you think traditionally about an automation, a lot of times you're going to see something called a workflow or a sequence of lots of different tasks. And you have to go through and you have to identify and build out all of these different tasks centered around different types of things. Maybe it's a contract or close process. Maybe it's a first time home buyer process, right? Those make up the workflows. Well, when you're working inside of SAM, you don't have to think about that. You think about routines, which we'll dive into a little bit later, but you think about this in regards to the important date being triggered when we start using them. So I'm going to show you guys where these important days are, and we're going to dive into exactly why they're so important. And as soon as you understand this concept, the world is your oyster. So let's go ahead and let's dive in. All right, so now that we're inside SAM, what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to the contact section. Now, from here, we're going to go ahead and go into a contact. I like to swipe to the right and click that edit, or you can click on it and then double click and it'll bring you into that contact. Now, from here, you're going to see the contact information, different tags, those personal details that we talked about earlier, but we are actually going to be focusing on the important dates. Now, any important date that you have filled out is going to be shown, but there are lots of important dates, and we're constantly adding important dates to the system. These important dates are going to be the things that trigger these automations. So let's walk through this. Let's say we have a new lead that comes into our business. Now, when this happens and a contact is created, you're going to have an entry date, which is up here on the top left hand, that is filled in. Now, when this is filled in, you might have a routine that we're going to talk about a little bit later that's tied to this entry date, meaning that as soon as this entry date is filled out, that routine starts and those automations start kicking off, helping you with those operational tasks, right? So the really cool thing about these important dates is as they get filled out, either from the system or manually, they can trigger those automations. And the other really cool thing is important dates can actually trigger other important dates to be filled in. So as that entry date got filled in, maybe it triggered a routine that was going to send an email to them, welcoming them and setting up an appointment for us to have a better conversation with them. Well, now we have our last email sent date that gets filled in, and maybe that triggers something else as well. So you can see how these important dates allow us to really lean into the system to trigger those automations to build into our business. We don't really have to think about larger processes. We just have to go through each important date, understand what our ideal process would be for each of these. So this one's pretty simple, and I think that you will spend just a little bit of time looking over this and you're going to understand this really well. Go ahead and go in here, review the different contact pieces, make sure you have all of the tags appropriate. And then if you have any important dates that you know that you haven't filled out yet, go ahead and fill these out. We are going to dive into how we can build those routines and how we can connect all the pieces together in a later training. But I really wanted to emphasize the power of these important dates because this is a really key concept. Once you understand it, it makes it a lot easier to build these routines out.